Oh my goodness.
Alrighty. Welcome to the Fellowship with Friends podcast. I'm your host, Noah. For this episode, we have a special guest from Fort Myers, Florida. He's one of my more recent close friends that I made, but I consider him family. Please welcome Malachi Mason.
Howdy, y'all. Howdy. Claps, round of applause.
Yeah, you may notice we're in a different setting than our normal podcasting room. That's because he's all the way from Fort Myers, and that is a 3-hour difference from California. So we had a little trouble getting this to work. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Who you are, what you do, how you do, and why you do.
My name is Malachi. As you said, I am from Fort Myers, Florida. I go to the Rock Church of Fort Myers. My pastor is Bishop Randy Williams. A lot of people know him. Shout out to him. Love you, Bishop.
Love him.
For what I do is I am currently a shift manager at Starbucks. Goodness, it's stressful at times, but that dough be rolling. A lot of what I do at the church is my hands are everywhere, but mostly a lot of it is media. So you see the reels we post, the live stream I do, the sermon graphics, that's all me working on in the background and all that fun stuff.
That's so cool. Would you consider yourself a creative then?
I try to be. I really do try to be creative. Oh my goodness! Growing up in school, I was so not creative. Oh my goodness! They'd give us they'd report us for creativity because it's weird ACA thing, and I'd always get just average. And then
average.
I'm and then now I'm in the creative department. I don't know how that worked out.
Hey, you're more than average, okay? If nobody else tells you that. Now, a lot of people may be asking, who is you? How do we even meet? So, from your perspective, go ahead and give the story on how we met.
Oh my goodness, it was interesting.
Okay, interesting.
It was literally it was back in 2021 W. It was at Impact, my church's conference. Shout out! I think hopefully we're having it again soon, but. It was before service, and I remember I was just walking around the sanctuary, just trying to meet new people, because especially during that, I was a very quiet person. I didn't talk to people. I only really talked to my select few friends. I'm you know what? I want to be different this year, because I was my friends were dogging on me for not talking. Better talk to somebody this year. I'm all right. So then I was walking around, I saw Noah I don't know, he was just walking around by himself. I'm just saying
I was just there.
Literally, you were just there. I was I'm gonna just say hi. And I was hey, introduce myself. I literally have no idea what we talked about. But the one thing I do remember, you asked me for my number the smoothest way possible. Because I remember, because you're hey, do you have a phone number? I'm yeah, a phone. I'm yeah. He's can I see you? I'm yeah, sure. I gave it to him, and then he put his number in. I'm here's my number, and I just text you. I'm dog, I gotta steal that. Dog. It was. I told my friends that is the smoothest way someone's asking for my number, and I still think about it.
Well, that's
to this day.
You know what? I don't consider myself the smoothest person at all. Even in 2021, when I look back at myself, I'm I was pretty awkward, and I think a lot of people could tell. But I'm gonna be honest. The only thing I remember from us meeting is your friends coming up and asking if I was Nick.
Yeah.
Because I was probably one of the few Asians that was at your church at the time, and that was
one family.
Kind of surreal, to be honest. Because in California, they're everywhere. And in Florida, there's none. They're nowhere.
It's scarce.
Yeah, I think I could put up the video and the photo in the podcast, but it was me and Nick, and we took a photo together. And I asked my Instagram if we looked alike. I don't think so, but I guess at the time maybe, because we did have similar haircuts at the time.
Yeah, that didn't help your case whatsoever.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I do remember, I think you were taller than me at the time. but you've always been taller than me. And last time
Genetics.
last time I saw you, you grew like 10 feet or something like that.
10 feet is crazy.
Is that not right?
Yeah, I'm like staggering 16 too. Just now.
16 too. That sounds about right. And you said you were a barista. How has that been? How did you start doing that? And do you like it now? Or
I do enjoy it. Funny enough, I remember the way I started is when I was 16, I was like, I need a job. I need to make bread. Actually, I started looking for jobs when I was like 15, but like no one was like accepting me because of my age, which I understand. And 16, I was like, I need to find a job. I was like applying everywhere, and then Starbucks was literally the last place I would work. I'm like, I don't want to work there.
Starbucks.
Let's go. I'm like, I do not want to work there. I can't remember all of those drinks. I can't do that. And then I remember I was at the church. I think it was after a youth service. A friend of mine, Rajavia, she was leaving Starbucks, leaving her store, and she's like, "Yo, if you want a job at Starbucks, apply right now. You're gonna get it." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And then I was just applying to different Starbucks. I applied to the Starbucks in our downtown, which was like 2 minutes from my house. Actually, like 10 minutes. And then I was applying there. I even called the manager, spoke with the manager, and everything. And then her sister, Jamie's sister, Jayla, called me. She's like, "Malachi, apply to the Starbucks on Colonial Father right now, or Jamie's leaving. You're gonna get the job ASAP. Like, do it." I'm like, okay, whatever. I applied. I called the manager, like referenced Lily or JV one time, like, "Oh, you want to interview?" I'm like, "W, yes." And literally, I talked to her Javia, and then the manager at that time was like, before I even interviewed, he's like, "Oh, if he's a friend of her Javia, I already like him. I'm gonna just hire him." And I'm like, and it worked.
Let's go.
That's how I got the job. And I started. I was 16. I'm now 19. I've been there for 3 years. Yeah, I know. I've been there for a minute.
Your points. Yeah,
I have.
Hey, that just means networking works.
Networking works.
Yeah,
know your people. Just know them.
Yeah, exactly. Do you like being a barista? Like, or did you have trouble like adjusting to that? Have you done like barista work before?
I would say no, not really. I definitely had experience in customer service. Because if any church kid knows, if there's a banquet at the church, you're going to be a server. You don't even have to volunteer. You're just in the group chat. They're like, "All right, so you're serving this night," and you're like, "Oh."
They just tell you what to do.
Exactly. As we say down here, more voluntold, and we just roll with that. But literally, we're like, "So you're going to get voluntold. You're going to be doing this."
Instant in season, not a season.
Exactly. It's just the church kid way.
Literally.
If you're a church kid, it just happens. You can't run from it.
Yeah.
But definitely, I do enjoy it. I didn't really have any experience in coffee before, but now I definitely do enjoy it. I love making drinks. Like when I'm on the floor, I always try to be on bar. But I'm definitely been looking. Funny enough, I'll tell people this unpopular opinion. I love Starbucks to pieces, but if I want coffee and I'm off the clock, I go to other coffee shops. I'm so serious.
Oh, snap.
I'm a trader. I don't go to Dunkin', though. I have standards. I don't go to Dunkin'.
I see.
But there's like these small coffee shops around Fort Myers, and then there's one good coffee shop down here called Narrative Roasters. One of the saints at our church, she works there, a dear friend of mine. So I'll literally... If I have the day off, I'm driving 40 minutes because that coffee smacks. I don't even know what she makes me. She sees me come in. She's like, "All right, Malachi, I got you." I'm like, "Hey,
nice."
A bag in the bag.
It's like the same price too, or even cheaper.
It is. I'm like, Starbucks is expensive, and like, don't get me wrong. There's times like I'll go crazy for Starbucks, but I prefer real coffee. I don't know. Any Starbucks barista, you'll ask them and they'll tell you the same thing. They're like, "Starbucks is good, but if you want real coffee, I go to a coffee shop."
Yeah, I've heard like many Starbucks employees say, "Don't go to Starbucks," mostly because they worked there too. It's like they're probably sick of it. It's like, no thanks, no thanks at all. Do you ever like experiment too, like with different combinations? Or what's like your favorite combination you made so far?
Well, my current hyperfixation right now is I make this one drink. It's kind of a knockoff from like the classic like coffee house, like honey brown sugar latte. So I make myself like a hot latte, which is very weird because if you know me, I love ice drinks. I don't care if it's 20 degrees outside. I am sipping an ice drink till I die. But I will order a hot latte. I'll do it. This is about to sound so confusing. I sent it to a friend of mine to order for me because I was at the church editing. I'm like, can you just pick me up a coffee? And she told me, Malachi, if you ever have me do that again, I'm going to choke you. I'm like, okay. She's a good friend of mine, so it makes sense. But it's a hot latte with oat milk with a triple blonde shot with ristretto, with honey blends and brown sugar syrup.
Oh, snap.
And oh my goodness, it's so good.
That sounds
It's addicting. Oh my goodness. I love if it's early in the morning, like when I'm opening, like for example, I'm an opening manager a lot, so I have to be up there, like be at the store at 4:30.
Oh,
so then
early.
I make that for myself. Yes. And it's been rough because like over here it don't get cold in Florida. It's summer all around. But these past few weeks, I went outside. I said, "Why is it 30 degrees?" Where
I know, right? Like you guys, the weather's usually like what 80 or 90 plus humidity.
Cold day.
But recently, it's been so cold. Even here in California, like the mornings have been like 40, and it's been insane. Yeah. And it's like, why? Like, who let the chill guy in? Like, why?
I said, dog, I'm not in Washington. Okay, if I want Washington, I go to Washington.
Exactly.
Let me be in Fort Myers.
Exactly. Has any customers like ordered something that you were like, let's not order that, and you like changed their order? Has it been any of those moments?
Yes. Okay, so a lot of times customers will be like, "Oh my goodness, I have a drink." Literally, this is how they sound. Like, "Hey, I have a drink. I saw on TikTok," and I'm like, "I want to fight TikTok."
Not TikTok.
I want to fight TikTok and stuff. They're like, "All right, so I have this drink," and then they tell me something, and half of the time, half of those ingredients are discontinued. And I'm like, "God, we don't even sell raspberry anymore." We don't. So like, they'll order something. I'm like, "Dog." One thing though is a lot of people order dirty chais, which I understand.
Yeah.
But the thing is, funny enough, I'm going to give you a little insider tip. So people, they'll order a hot chai and they'll order 2 shots of espresso in it, which is fine and dandy, but usually comes out to like $9 or $10. But if you just order a hot latte with chai in it, it's the same thing, but you get it cheaper. So there's a lot of times like they'll order that. I'm like, I'm going to just change your order for you. I'm going to help you. And they're like, "Oh my goodness, thank you." And I'm like, yeah.
Now we'll see who's listening to the podcast and who will order that.
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Do you like being a barista? Is that like your thing now? Awesome.
I do definitely enjoy it. Even if I do leave Starbucks, I do plan on like at least trying to stay in coffee because I do enjoy making coffee.
Gotcha. Do you make coffee at your church? Are you like the go-to person?
Sadly, I am not. We actually don't have a cafe. We don't have a cafe. We've been like trying to fight for one. We're like, "Bishop, please." But occasionally our Sunday school department, they do like what they call it, the kids own coffee house. So, like they'll like do a fundraiser where they sell coffee, which I would love to be a part of, but I'm always so busy on Sundays. So I'm never able to be a part of it. So sadly, I'm not a part of it. If we do have it, I'm like, "Sorry, y'all." I got things to do.
Yeah. Do you have your own like coffee maker at home?
Surprisingly not. So my friends have been roasting me for this. So the thing is, I love coffee, but the thing is, I've had it so much, coffee doesn't do anything for me. So Red Bulls have been my thing. So the majority of the time, if you're going to see me at church, you expect, especially you're either going to see me with a camera in my hand or a Red Bull in my hand.
I see.
And literally, my friends are like, "Malachi, you're going to die early because of Red Bull." I'm like, "Hey, it sounds like I sound like an addict when I say this, but I did the math, and I usually drink a 12-ounce Red Bull, which is like 160 milligrams of caffeine.
Oh, gosh.
A regular Starbucks order is 4 shots of espresso. That is 300 milligrams of caffeine.
That's way more.
I'm fine. Exactly. The recommended dose of caffeine a day is 400. I'm below
you're
that.
Fine then.
I'm fine. I just drink 1 Red Bull. Just 1 Red Bull.
Yeah, you're fine. 1 a day.
Exactly.
Balance it out with water. You're good.
There's water in Red Bull.
Hey, there you go.
It's so bad. I got my coworkers on Red Bull. It's a dangerous combo. And we work
Like
right next to a gas station.
the regular flavor or like one of the like fruity ones or whatever.
I'll tell you the list. Okay. So I don't get me wrong. I love the original. You can't beat the classic. But my go-to flavors, my top list is number one is coconut. Oh my goodness. I love the coconut berry one.
I haven't heard
For
of that
some
one
reason,
before.
I don't know why it's called coconut berry. It doesn't taste like coconuts whatsoever.
Or
I hate
berries.
coconuts. So I hate coconuts. I don't know why I like it, but it's so good. The number two is the winter edition one they just released, vanilla berry, and the third is the chooseberry.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are so good.
Ooh,
I'm a
that
fiend for them.
sounds
It's so
good.
bad. So bad.
Now, question. Actually, I should preface this first. So I haven't had coffee.
Okay. Oh yeah.
What would be your recommendation for my first time coffee?
First time coffee. Like, where are you going? Where are you going?
Anywhere. Like,
Okay.
I don't really know because I'm not a coffee drinker. And I've asked so many of my friends, they've given different answers.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. So listen. Okay, just say you're coming into my Starbucks. So if you're going for a coffee, do you want something like a coffee or coffee taste, or something sweeter with caffeine?
When I was younger, I didn't like the smell of coffee, which is why I stayed away from it. So maybe that will come into play there. I don't know. I don't know how coffee tastes. But I know when I was younger, I didn't like the smell. Now it's like tolerable, but yeah.
Okay, so then I probably a lot of Starbucks baristas will probably tell you the same thing. Just get an iced white mocha with caramel jello vanilla foam. That's
I've heard that so much, and I'm like, nah, it doesn't sound appealing.
It's good, but it's sweet. It is sickeningly sweet, which I don't like. But if you want something, do you want it iced or hot?
I would say hot.
Okay, so that's not the holder. It's okay. So then I'd probably say, if you want a hot drink, I'd probably do I do a French vanilla latte. I would do so Starbucks doesn't have a French vanilla. So what we do is we have vanilla and hazelnut. So I'd recommend you doing a hot latte with oat milk and French vanilla. So vanilla and hazelnut, and you sprinkle some cinnamon dolce powder on top.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And if you want to be bougie, if you want to be annoying, ask to have the cinnamon dolce powder steamed inside the milk. Changes the game. It makes it so much better. Hang
on, let me write this down for when I do actually get coffee.
Okay.
Really? Dang, okay. See, that I haven't heard that one. Yeah, everyone has said get the mocha or just black coffee, and I'm like,
black coffee.
I don't know about that.
I respect people that drink just a hot black coffee, and just at 7 a.m. I'm like, I respect you.
Yeah, I think my dad a couple years ago he drank just straight black coffee because he's a doctor, for those who don't know, and he has to stay up late and wake up early. So and he just makes coffee black. I'm like, that's maybe why I don't like the smell.
It's the flashbacks.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you're at the Fort Myers, Florida church, the Rock Church, to be specific. And you mentioned you were the live stream person who does the live stream and helps with content creation, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. What's your most favorite shot you've gotten on the live stream?
On the live stream, it's kind of tricky because it's a lot different than shooting a reel or something, because you have to be very fast paced with it. But I think my favorite one is, I'm sadly rarely on for cameras for the live stream because I'm always busy with the content creation. But when I do on, one of my favorite shots during preaching is I steal the shot from content. What I'll do is I'll get the roaming camera and then I'll sit in the pews with the saints and then get a shot of the preacher. So it makes it look like you're there. And that's one of my favorite shots to do. That's
so cool.
I love depth perception. I love depth.
Yeah.
So if you look at my photos, I do a lot of that. So I like to implement it when I do the live stream.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out their stuff, by the way, go ahead and go to their Instagram and Malachi posts a lot of stuff too about that. He posts like his behind the scenes and stuff like that. I love your behind the scenes and your like mini vlogs, by the way. You're like, oh, this happened and guess what? We did something else.
every Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, how many people do you have in your team? Like overall?
So for our media team, we have, I think we have, it's me, Judah, Alina, Sierra, Nia, Sam. 7. We have 7 people. Including myself. Yeah, so shout out to them. Shout out to Judah. He taught me everything I know, literally.
Oh, Judah's the man. He's the GOAT. He's the OG. I love him.
Literally.
Love him so much. What program do you use to create your like reels and or modify and edit photos with?
So I'm kind of super basic, sort of. For photos, a lot of people use Lightroom. I don't like Lightroom. I use Lightroom Classic. I used to use Lightroom, and then one day, like one of my friends, she's like made a weird comment. She's like, I heard like a bunch of like photographers like you'll use like Lightroom Classic, like the professional ones. I'm like, okay, let me just try it out. And I tried it, and oh my goodness, I've never went back since. I love it so much more. I love how detailed I can be.
Yeah.
But then for videos, we just use DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is fire, dog.
Yeah, it's like super simple. Yeah,
it is, and you can make it however you want. It's super complex too. I love DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, I think it's made to be like, oh, anyone can use it, anyone can try it, anyone can put anything together, and the effects are like you just slap it on, right? It's pretty much done for you. It's like a preset.
Yeah.
Whereas like I have Final Cut Pro and Adobe Photoshop Elements, and that's a lot harder to use because you have to learn all the different functions on that. And every time I go in to start a new project, I'm like, I've forgotten how to do everything. I got to relearn all of it. Yeah.
I know when they started, they used a Final Cut. And then by the time I came, they switched to DaVinci. So like they trained me on that. So I'm like, hey, that's all I know, dog. I don't know anything about Adobe. I know Photoshop because I use that for graphics. So that's it.
Yeah, that's it. What's like your favorite graphic you've made?
Oh, it's so tough. The sermon graphics. Oh my goodness, it's hard. I think. I'm going to try to think. Let me look at the ones I send Judah, because literally how it works is I'll work on it, and then I'll send it to Judah, and Judah's like, so Judah, he's going to love me when I say this. Sometimes I'll send a graphic, he's like, perfect, and I love it. I'm like, yes, life's easy. And then other times he's like, hey, I ain't feeling it. I'm like, please.
He's Judah, like please. The devil's advocate. He's like,
What happened? Like one thing he'll either say he doesn't like the font, which I'm like, okay, I can change the font. It's no biggie. He's like, well, I don't like the image, and I'm like, that's the whole point. Like literally.
Yeah. Well, sermon graphics are difficult though, because sometimes you get them last minute, and then sometimes the speaker envisions something completely different.
I can't pull up the photo. I have it in messages, but I think my favorite one I made recently though is I'll send it to you. But it was, we had Brother Lewis preach for us, and he preached, "Are you ready for the flood?" And I made this graphic, and it's like super. I'm gonna just send it to you because I can't really describe
send it to me.
it.
I'll put it on the video, like post edit.
But it's like very I'm trying to give words. It's a retaking of Noah's Ark, and it's like
That's
super
cool.
like detailed, and it's higher.
Nice.
I'll try to send it later, but I think that's at least my favorite one I did recently.
Yeah. I think now my church, we have a person named Brother Cowan. He's an evangelist now, but he does all the graphics because a lot of our sermon titles come in pretty much last minute. So he does it right before service, and they turn out pretty good because they're visually appealing, and they pretty much capture the congregation into the sermon as well.
Yeah, I will definitely say though, Obviously, the preaching is very, very, very important. I would say the sermon graphic definitely ties in a lot to what the preacher wants to convey with his message.
Oh, yeah. Well, we will stop this here for a small ad break. But thanks to Malachi for being here, first of all. He's one of my longtime friends. And anything you'd like to say before we move on to segment 2?
Segment 2? Y'all ain't ready for segment 2. Straightforward.
Straightforward. All right, we'll see you after the break. Hope y'all are enjoying this podcast, but there's something that would make it even better. Please like, subscribe, and follow on whichever platform you're listening on, including YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and many more platforms that this podcast is available on, and share it with your friends and family. I promise you there's more content coming soon. All right, welcome back from the ad break. In the previous segment, for those who just decided not to listen, we introduced my friend, new close friend, Mr. Malachi Mason, over from Fort Myers, Florida. A little bit about his life as a barista and as a content creation machine at Fort Myers. And now, another reason why I have him here is because he sends me these long voice messages.
Yeah.
That's like just kind of ranting in a way. Like not in a bad way, but just kind of like talking things out, right? And as the year closes, I think we have pretty long thoughts on what we think about this year, right? Because I could say for me, this year has been random, very random, compared to previous years. So to start off, how was your 2024? Just how was it?
Totally. It was definitely very wild and very hectic.
Wild.
Literally, the most, it was actually, I would describe it as unexpected. Because one day I can't really predict what's going to happen, good or bad.
Right.
But definitely, I will say though, I feel like it sounds like so stereotypical saying this, like next year should be the best year ever. But I feel like definitely this year was like prepping me for like what's to come in 25. So I'm just waiting to see what happens and what God has in store.
Amen.
I'm just waiting.
Yeah, I could say for me, like this year, there's been so many last minute changes every time I plan to do something. And then I was like, okay, what am I doing now? Like, what's today going to be? I don't know. Because if y'all know, I'm in the master's program now for college. And that was pretty random for me because I didn't expect to get in, to be honest. I don't know why I applied. I just kind of happened. As I guess it was worth the $150 application. It was expensive, but it's also California, so it's whatever compared to Florida. Yeah. Again, and then I started this podcast in the summer. Again, last minute. That was because I was like, "What?" Yeah. And honestly, I could label this year as the year of like challenge for me, because I was like, I think one thing that God revealed to me was I would have trouble with time management this year, because I had a huge like time struggle going from like college and then church and then other stuff like my own life too, like trying to take care of myself too, because that's important. But yeah, how would you label your 2024?
Funny enough, I didn't really have this label until maybe a few weeks ago. I remember I literally forget the message it was, But I think, yeah, it's my bishop. He preached a message, and then I was just praying on the altar, and then God just like dropped something in my spirit. I made like a whole wallpaper for this, like for my phone and my laptop, but just labeled it as Joseph's dream. And basically, just summoning it up, it just basically means that Joseph was given a dream, or like for me, like I was given a call, but he had to wait years before what was accomplished. Like he was betrayed. He was betrayed multiple times.
Right.
From being betrayed from his brothers to Potiphar's wife to the butler, a lot of things, but eventually his dream coming from a place of unexpectancy. So my thing is like, yes, you have a calling, and yes, you may have been waiting a while, but there's a reason for the wait. And like, so that's why I'm feeling like next year is going to be like an answer to what, like, I'm kind of like Joseph waiting in the prison right now, waiting for my time up, pretty much. But that's what I'm kind of like, I'm labeling my 24 as like just being that waiting for Joseph.
That's really good. What was your like biggest takeaway or biggest lesson you've learned from 2024? Outside of what you've already said and that you're willing to share, obviously.
Funny enough, this is actually the chapel lesson I taught at our church's school this morning. Funny enough, it was very last minute me teaching chapel. It was supposed to be a whole other day, and there was just miscommunication. And they texted me, "Hey, are you still able to teach?" I'm like, "What? ¿Por qué?" And then I was like, it's funny enough, I had this whole lesson I wanted to teach. Like I had like detailed notes. Like I had sermon examples. And then I was praying, I'm like, God, like, what do you want me to teach today? And he just dropped something. He's like, share what you've been going through. I was like, what? And then if you know a lot of the thing about me, I love being prepared. Sometimes I'll go off in the wind, but I love being prepared. I love having notes, especially when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
I had maybe a page of notes, and the rest of God's like, have fun. But basically, what I taught today is I like to label my lessons. I titled my lesson, He's Preparing the Table in the Silence. So basically, it's pairing Psalms 22, which is a prophecy of Jesus being on the cross and his suffering, and then Psalms 23, which everyone knows.
Right.
But basically, the whole premise of it was when you're like Jesus on the cross, when you feel like all hope is lost, like literally everything is turned against you. People are mocking you. The friends you used to turn to are turning away. The mentors, everything is turning against you. What are you supposed to do? Yeah. And I was telling the kids, I was like, at that point when you don't know what to do, first thing is trusting in God. Because what I was telling them was, God knew you were going to go through this trial before you did. So he knows the beginning, he knows the middle, so he's definitely going to know how it's going to end. And how it's going to end. And then one thing, I gave him a little example. I'm like, okay, let's say you're driving in a city. Let's say I was like in Nebraska, like the most random place, because that's so far away from Florida. Like imagine you're driving in Nebraska, and who would you rather drive the car? Would you rather have the person who's just as lost as you? Like when you tell them to go left, but they go right, that type of lost? Or would you rather trust the person that has the GPS loaded up on their phone? They're like, the GPS. I'm like, why? Because they know where they're going. And I'm like, exactly. So a lot of saying it was that a lot of where there was a lot of things in my life this year where I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to play out. I was just like confused. I was like, I was asking God, I'm like, God, you told me this one thing, but this is happening. Like, I don't understand how it's going to work out. And I was reading it, and then it was like Psalm 23, where it's talking about how he prepares a table before your enemies, and he shall anoint your head with oil. And I mentioned this to them. It was so funny. They were like, can you repeat what you just said? I'm like, honestly, dog, I had no idea what I just said. That was the Lord speaking.
You just said it.
Literally, I was like, I just said, they're like, can you repeat? I want to write that down. I'm like, I don't know what I just said. But some of what I remember what I was saying is that because I was talking to these kids, I'm like, yes, you're church kids, because I have the same testimony as you. I grew up in church, but despite you being church kids, you're going to have struggles. It is what it is. You're going to have life. There's things that you're going to have to face that you may not even want to share with your friends. Like there's going to be, it's not if you're going to go it, it's when. So I was saying, mostly the whole lesson was you're crying out to God, but you're not hearing a response. So that was a lot of me this year. I'm crying out, I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do? And I'm hearing nothing. And then I was reading Psalm 23 and it said the message was, despite me not seeing it, he was preparing a table before me, before my enemies, because I labeled it, because you can take it a lot of different ways, but how I interpret it was, before you get complete victory over what you've been facing and the thing you've been struggling with, you're going to have to sit at the table in front of it.
That's
so
good.
God is he's going to place you there on purpose. He's going to sit you here in front of that. And then what's going to happen is he pours oil over your head, which the oil and anointing oil can symbolize a lot of things in scripture. But one way I view it, like one thing like I felt God was speaking to me in this season was he's pouring victory over me. It's a whole new realm of blessing, a whole new thing of like where, yes, you were struggling with this. Yes, you may have been struggling with this for years and you don't understand what's going to happen, but a whole new anointing is coming over you.
Yeah.
And what I liked next was like, he says in Psalms 23:6 talks about how he goes to the house of God. And another way you can label the house of God is the presence of God. So you went from feeling forsaken, from feeling like God is abandoning you. You haven't even heard from him.
Yeah.
But then now you're in his presence. Yet now you have victory, what you've been struggling over. So I think that's definitely my biggest lesson this year is kind of coming to an end, like the beginning to the end, where yes, I was in silence for so long, but despite me being in silence, God didn't forsake me, but he was preparing a table before what I was struggling with. So that's definitely the biggest lesson from this year.
That's amazing. Wow. Selah. Think on that.
Musicians, come forward.
Yeah, exactly. I think mine is quite similar. Because at the beginning of the year, I got my wisdom teeth out, and that was a huge, like, throw off to my whole schedule. Because I spent, about like 3 months not being able to, 2 months not being able to eat much because I had to eat soft foods for a while, and it's like, whoa. Have you had your wisdom teeth taken out?
I'm getting it done next month.
Oh snap! Good luck, soldier. Good luck. It's a rough couple months because I remember my jaw was like, I couldn't feel it. Also, when I tried eating stuff, like sometimes I was like, it didn't feel good at all. Yeah, and then it was definitely an interesting January. But from then on, I think for some reason I haven't had a normal year, like at all. like February was, how old am I? 21? Yeah, 21. I didn't really have a birthday party. And I was like, interesting. Sometimes birthday parties are a little overrated in my opinion, but yeah, it was kind of a little bit small celebration, like, yay, I'm 21. Then life moves on. That's kind of how it flows. And then college kept like piling on top every month. And then I did summer school too, so I didn't go to any like conferences or anywhere. I pretty much stayed home this whole year. I had to bow out of like I was asked to play at a conference called Youth Connect here in Southern California, but I had to bow out because it always happens to land on finals week. So I had to study for tests and I had to take time out for that, which unfortunate, but it's whatever. And then after summer school, I got accepted into the master's program. That's a plus. And then when that started, it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. And a lot of stress and a lot more white hairs grown. I wouldn't say wisdom, mostly stress. And then when that started, I was like, I had to like pull back a little bit and kind of take myself out of music ministries to like make sure I'm okay and that I'm prayed up too. Because my pastor's philosophy is like, he doesn't want you up there if you're not like praying. And that makes sense, a lot of sense. You had to be connected first, be a prayer warrior first, a servant. Exactly. So I had to be like on top of that. But it's been hard to balance like essays, papers, exams, like all that stuff, especially for that type of like graduate school, college thing. It's like you're dealing with the world and then God. Ultimately, I'm choosing God. But as this year's coming to a close, and I finished finals, so thank God. One thing that has been prompting my mind was like, throughout this whole year, God has been asking me, do you trust me? Because this year was pretty much an unknown. I feel like the end of last year told me, hey, God is like thrusting me into the deep. And what people know and don't know about the deep is it's unfamiliar. You just don't know. It's literally the unknown. And not quoting Elsa from Frozen, but but it was really the unknown. I didn't know what was happening, and I couldn't see spiritually where I was going, and it didn't make sense to me. But throughout the entire year, God has been telling me, do you trust me? Do you trust me? Trust me. And then it's been uncomfortable for me because I like planning things. Malachi knows this. I like doing things ahead of time and having plan A, plan B, plan C, and that's not a bad thing to have. But at the end of the day, it's all about following God. And when it's like the pillar of fire and the cloud by day for the Israelites, when God moves, you just have to pack up and move along. You just got to go. You can't stay. So that's been my year. It's been interesting, but I wouldn't say it's all bad, but I wouldn't even classify it as bad. It's just different in that sort of way. And as you know, New Year's comes with like goals, right? Like, quote unquote goals, because nobody really ever accomplishes them. What were your goals at the beginning of this year? Like if you put yourself back in your shoes or look back to January 2024, what were your goals then? And did you accomplish them?
It's a really good question. If I remember it, I think one of the two I can remember off the top of my head was like, one, getting better at photography and videography, because at that point, I think I was only in our church's meeting team for like a month. Because I started in December of last year, so I'm like, I want to do better, not just for me, but for the kingdom. And then definitely I was like, I want to get deeper with my walk with God. And then I was like, God, I want to go deeper. And then this year is like, okay, boom. And I'm like, dog, you didn't give me a chance. Give me a chance to think. It's like getting thrown in the deep end out of nowhere. And you're like, dog. But that's definitely was like, I definitely got deeper in my walk with God, but it was a lot. It took a lot of like late nights, a lot of long prayers and reading. And a lot of like, I'm like, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then I open the Bible and like, it's just reading my mail. And a lot of it was, oh my goodness, I love my bishop so much, but I feel like every time I pray, I feel like God funnels what I'm going through to him because he just knows exactly what it is. And I'm like, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then the next thing he preaches. Exactly. Shout out. And I'm like, I was telling a friend of mine, I'm like, I feel like it's just me, God, and Bishop in the room. And I'm like, dog, how do you find out these things? I'm like, no one else knows. And he's like, da-da-da. I'm like, oh. I'm like, there's my answer, I guess. But like, okay.
Shout out to Bishop Williams, by the way.
Shout out to Bishop. Love him. But I'm like, that's definitely been a lot of my year. And I think a lot of it, I've been deeper, but a lot of it was challenging me. A lot of things that I didn't want to do. Because I like to be in my little, the thing is, I like to be in my little bubble. I don't like going now. For example, for teaching chapel lessons at a whole church's school, that's definitely thrown me off my game. Because I guess I'll teach Sunday school, which is like a few handful of kids, but then to teach like a whole class, and I'm like, dog, this is definitely out of my comfort zone. And definitely, and it's not just even that, but having them wanting me to come back more, which puts a weight of like expectation on me. And I'm like, goodness, but I know it's definitely for furthering my walk with God. Because I'm like, God, I want to do more things for you. He's like, okay, you're doing this, and I'm like, oh, jump scare.
Well, you're an introvert, right?
Yes, very much so.
Us introverts are like, we don't like public speaking. We like small groups. We don't even like small talk. We just like chilling with like silence.
Yes. I would gladly just like be on my phone next to somebody, and that's a good night for me. That's just a good night.
Exactly. which is probably why we're friends.
Literally, we're literally the same person.
Other than the long voice memos you send.
Right. That's my rant. The text message can't hold what I have to say.
If you don't get a voice memo from Malachi, he probably doesn't like you.
Honestly, real. Either that or like it's either I send a voice memo or I send like strings of text. It's so bad. Yeah. My friends hate to see me text.
No, I'll be like driving and listening to your voice memos because like they're so long. It's like I might as well do it now.
Like I can make a whole other podcast just with my voice memos with how long they are.
Comment down below if you want to see him open a podcast with just him just talking about his life. What would you call it?
I'd call it ranting with Mason. Ranting with Mason.
Ranting with Mason. You're just like out and about. You know what you should do? You should just vlog. Vlog all day.
It's so weird. Despite me like doing a lot of content for like our college and career media, where I'm in front of the camera, I hate being in front of the camera.
Oh, like yeah.
You'll see me like record a video. Like one thing I did like for like promoting a gingerbread house night, I was there for like 30 minutes just trying to hype myself. I'm like, hey, you got this.
It's the mental preparation.
And it was so funny because there was also like someone else in the room because like she was just like working on some graphics. I'm like, I can't do it. I have to wait till she leaves.
So
I can't
awkward.
record myself.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't. And I was going back. I think I did 10 takes. I'm like, I just gotta give myself variety.
That's not
and I was
bad.
Like,
that's not bad.
Like,
if it was me, I would have done like at least 100.
Yeah, options. That's what I said. Just options.
Oh yeah, just like the dating pool, but that's a topic for a different day.
That's crazy. Crazy word.
Anyways, off topic. Going back. Is there anything you would have done different this year if you were to look back, like in terms of accomplishing your goals?
I think definitely one of the things I would do is like if I could talk to myself at the beginning of the year, it would definitely be like, "Ayo, it's gonna work out." And just tell myself like, it's gonna work out. Don't stress over it. God has a plan. Because like literally, I remember, funny enough, this like insight came from a coworker of mine because I recently became a shift manager, and she's been a manager for a while. And I remember it was just a bad day. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong. And I was like stressing, and like I was trying to make everything work. And she pulled me aside. She pulled me in the back. She's like, Malachi, I don't care if there's people outside. Give me 2 seconds. She was like, yo, just know it's going crazy right now, but you got this. It's okay. You're doing great. And if I could have just told myself that like earlier this year when everything was going buck wild, I think that would definitely like help me a lot. But just that reassuring, like, it's going to work out because all things work together for the good. That's literally, I tell myself, because especially earlier this year, I had so many car problems. Like, I felt like I could have a whole head of gray hair with how stressed I was.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I said, God, I just give it your hands. I'm going to trust you. Next day, I got a car. I'm like, Shondo.
Let's go.
I receive it.
Praise God.
Literally, God is good. Amen. But I think that is definitely what I would improve if I could have.
Yeah, I think for me, well, first I should probably say my goals. My goal this year was to continue songwriting. Malachi knows a little bit about this, but for those who don't know, I started songwriting in 2020, but I haven't done anything with it at all. And I wouldn't say I accomplished that because I've been so busy this year, and like my focus has been like every which way. It's been pulled so many different directions. So I have written a little bit, and I've been inspired more lately because I had more free time, but I haven't really done anything with music this year, surprisingly. Yeah. So probably if I could have done things differently, probably just not set a goal at all. Let's be real. Who honestly goes through with their plan, their New Year resolution?
You gotta get fit.
Yeah. Honestly,
I gotta tell that to myself. I still have to get myself to go to the gym. I gotta start.
yeah.
My coworkers have been
Gym.
getting on me on it. Exercise on extra fries? What?
That sounds good. Extra fries at the gym with Jim. I love Jim. Shout out to Jim. If I honestly, I wouldn't do anything differently because this whole year was forming who I am. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't tell myself to do anything differently because if I did, I probably wouldn't be who I am today, or I probably wouldn't be here. Let's be honest. I won't be here. Yeah. This coming year, 2025. Are you excited?
I am stoked. I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. What do you aspire to do in 2025?
Question, dog. That's a real good question. I don't know.
I don't think anyone knows. Let's be real. But is there something like you wanted to start trying? Let's say like or start doing at least, or start like changing a routine in your life or something like that.
I know there's definitely. Funny enough, I think it was the last youth service we had this year. Our youth pastor, he preached a fire message. He preached a challenge to the youth. I remember because I made the graphic for it. And the whole premise of it was literally, that's how I remember messaging. I'm like, oh, I think that one. It's definitely a lot of what he was preaching was like he was preaching consistency. He was talking about like if you want anything in life, you have to be consistent. And like he issued a challenge to he gave like a really good challenge. He's like, because a lot of our young people, they're church kids, so it's a lot of. I can't say anything because I was the same when I was their age. Like it's a lot of like during pre-service prayer, they're just walking around in the back, just talking to each other, just church kid things. Yeah. And then he was like, "I'm making a challenge." He said, first thing is for 100 days. He said that for 100 days, no more praying in the back. And I'm like, yo. But I will say though, I noticed these past few services, like where they've been praying up for, I've definitely seen a difference in them responding in service because obviously they're tapping in now.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges, like I challenge myself is what I like to do is like in my devotions, what I challenge myself is that in every devotion, I always try to at least get one lesson out, like write a whole lesson out from it. What I read, it's definitely like, and write it out. Cause I'm a lot of person like, okay, I read it. Okay. God is good.
Right.
Then 10 p.m. I'm like, what did I read today?
Yeah.
But definitely like writing it out. And then it definitely has come into clutch because I know I talked to Noah about this, but I know my bishop, like he says it's a lot of the preachers where you shouldn't be like looking for a message when you're called to preach. You should already have something ready out of your own devotions.
That's good.
So that's why I've been trying to do that in my own. And that's definitely helped because like today I had a whole lesson prepared for my chapel, but God issued me something that I read in my devotions 2 days ago. And if I never would have established that, I wouldn't have had a lesson. I may have taught something else, but it wouldn't have the same effect that God had in store.
That's good.
So that's definitely a challenge I have for myself, and I'm probably going to continue to next year to at least every day have a lesson, or every other day have it, or in the next day I'm building more into it, just writing it out.
That's good. So if anybody feels inspired about that, if you're already doing that, or if you want to start doing that, just follow Malachi's lead. He's the model for this.
I try to be.
I think in 2025, I'm actually going to start songwriting. I know I said that last year. I know I did. But I promise you, I'm already starting to write something right now. Hint, hint, it's called Shattered. Yeah, but I hope to have somewhat of like an outline of it by the end of next year. Probably not releasing anything, but at least something, at least for me, because I feel like this year has prepared me to like do that and be like, I have like the substance for that now. So yeah, anyways, as we end the segment, I'm going to shoot you some quick fire or like quick questions.
Okay.
So just whatever comes at the top of your head, answer it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Favorite color?
Forest green.
Forest green. Interesting.
Favorite color.
Favorite water brand?
You're right. If y'all don't know nothing about Publix purified water, dog, that could bring me back to life.
Yeah. Favorite tea?
Yeah, sweet tea. I love sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
It's such a southern thing to say. I love sweet tea.
Yeah. Y'all in the South, right? Yeah.
It's weird. Florida's weird. South Florida is north, but North Florida is south. I'm in the South. That's all you know. I'm in the South. Technically.
Favorite coffee?
Coffee. Cold brews. I love cold brews.
Cold brews? I bet. All right. This is debatable, but would you say you have a best friend or multiple best friends?
Okay. I definitely have a multitude of very close friends, but I say I do have one that stands above them all. Shout out to Wesley, because he's like type of person that, like, if something goes crazy, I know I can call him, and I know he'll give me an answer. And then one thing I love about him is that he is very blunt, and he will tell me if I'm being stupid or if I'm overthinking something. Because I'm like, Wesley, this happened, or I did it. He's like, you're overthinking it. You could have did it like this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he's that person that will call me out. And it sounds very abrupt, but I know it's out of love, and that's what I really appreciate about him. And then I think a very close second up is another dear friend of mine, Jayla. She's kind of the same way, but I think those two are very high up.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I believe in the best of your friend group. You have the best of your friend. You could have, technically you had best friends, but they're not your best friend. In that sort of way, but that's debatable. Comment down below which one you're
engagement.
Yeah. Okay. iPhone or non-iPhone?
iPhone all the way. I'm sorry.
Apple users, let's go.
We're Apple-stolic in this church, okay? We're Apple-stolic.
No Samsonites.
Oh no. The Lord smote them down for a reason. I'll take their monitors though. That's it though.
True that. All right, well, thank you, Malachi, for coming on this podcast. Comment down below what your favorite part of this episode was, and anything last minute you want to say to the people before we end this off.
Well, it's been an honor being here. Thank you for having me. And if I were to just send anybody off, just really what I said earlier, just know God is preparing a table for you in your silence. But Shondo.
And this was the Fellowship with Friends. I hope to fellowship with you someday. Take care, y'all.
Bye.
Want to pose for a thumbnail? It's like, or like.
Not the congratulations. Where did it come from?
What's happening? Wait, what did you do?
I just did this. This even doesn't good.
What? Why is it doing it for you?
I don't know.
What is happening? Okay, see y'all.